passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in! Touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond.
Swinging it right! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jarid Watson.
Hey everybody, Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and Beyond. He's Andy Billman, I'm Jarid Watson, and the Cleveland Browns, surprisingly, about an hour and a half ago, made the announcement that we didn't expect to come over the weekend, but it did. Freddie Kitchens is now officially the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. In true Browns fashion now, they announced it out of the blue on a Saturday morning. Andy, or early Saturday afternoon. Andy, are you surprised?
Well, no. I mean, this is kind of how the Browns have gone for the last, God knows how long now. Everything seems to be having some sort of like weird turn or weird divide. I guess, they had to beat the clock because there's no way you could go into 4 o'clock once NBC starts their broadcast for pregame. So I'm sure someone in NFL parts are like, hey, if you're going to announce this, you better announce it before 3:30 because once it gets to 3:30, 4 o'clock, that's NBC's window. And we don't want to breaking news, anything like that. Because that's the time for the playoffs to begin. So they were on the clock themselves and they wanted to really do this announcement. Anyways, we can go on with the PR department for the Browns at times. It's I'm not saying they do a terrible job, but their timing is fascinating. That's how I will leave that.
Their video, their graphics, their social media, those sections I like.
Yes.
the PR itself at the top, it's coming out all wrong sometimes.
Yeah, they have a weird way of doing things. Again, never. I guess I can say this is never crisp. It doesn't land as nicely as you think. It lands like some PR people don't land, but they do land. But man, it's just. Here we come, and land. Like, there's no graceful landing into the runway. Freddie Kitchens, though, is the guy. I was reading all the Twitter posts about an hour ago, as soon as you alerted me to it, because I've been running around this morning. And, I think it's what people expected. He's ready to roll, according to his 18-second clip they played online. Everybody had nice things, of course, to say. I think what's interesting, Jarid, you really want to look into it, is how the Browns got here off of where we were last week when we were talking about this. On Monday, the interesting name to me that kind of fell apart that I've been reading up on before we came on here today was McCarthy. I thought McCarthy would have more of a role in this. From what I've been reading, it sounds like this McCarthy thing's all over the place. It just depends on what story you want to believe. There's one report to Cleveland.com with Mary Kay. Sounds like that he was never interested in the job, and he told the Browns so much that.
Yeah. There's
other reports saying that he was interested in the job, and the Browns told him to hold off. I guess it just depends on who you want to believe and what is out there. With that said, and looking at the list, it came down to Stefanski and Kitchens, and it is your annual tug of war, which I want to get to in a second. Kitchens did win. I think that was the right choice. Briefly, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. I think Stefanski would have been a huge flop publicly. So I think they did the right thing here if you're just looking for a public outcry. Freddie did a nice job this year. You and I commented on it. Everybody commented on it. The one thing, Jarid, I keep hearing from people, and I kudos. You always want to try to be different, but it's hard to. It's hard to hate this hire. It's hard to really get down on this hire.
No, I think that the only thing that I've seen, social media wise, from Cleveland fans is there was a real strong love for Greg Williams from a lot of fans, and a lot of fans that needed to be reminded throughout this process that Greg, I mean, even I listened to Emmett Golden the other day, who basically said that Greg saved this team in that season. And in a sense he did, for what he brought to the team, taking over after that crazy, what we knew was going to happen with Hugh leaving, but that team could have fell apart and they didn't. But here's the other thing that I don't realize, that I think that the conversation needs to be had is how much did Greg really do that, and how much was it just the offense coming to life? Because we didn't really see the defense get better. The defense, in a sense, got worse. The takeaways decreased over the season, and of course, some injuries definitely hampered the season for a few guys. But at the same time, Greg's defense, what he was brought here to do, was not impressive at times.
They didn't stand out.
And
They didn't stand out. They didn't play well enough. The run defense stunk. Greg Williams is a good guy, but to be honest with you, Jared, let's say I would have been very critical of one thing with Greg. One, let's say he brought him back as defensive coordinator with Freddie. Let's just say that happened, okay? My number one plight in the offseason would be like, well, how are we fixing this running game? And who's going to be really teaming up with our all-star on the other side and Garrett? Who's going to really be his go-to guy? Because, we don't have one, and we haven't developed one. And, I love Denzel Ward, and Denzel Ward's my guy. He needs to be healthy.
I'm worried he's not going to have a long career. I'm worried he
right.
one more crack to the head. You just don't know at that point.
I agree. I agree. And Greg Williams did a nice job. He also had some – people tend to forget when you win. Shaky moments at the end of the Broncos game. Shaky. Yeah. Had some shaky moments in the Texans game with timeouts. Had some shaky moments. They did not win the Baltimore game. People got to remember that. They did not win the Baltimore game. Okay? Those things stand out. Those things, to me, were the moments where you could take a step back. Even though they won the Broncos game, I thought Greg really kind of had some weird moments on the sideline. I thought, I remarked upon it. I thought the Texan game was very important for him in his long-term here. And I thought he coached really poorly in that game. And I think that kind of stayed with him. The other thing, too, is with Greg, and it's not his fault, he's part of the Hugh Jackson team. And whether he likes it or not, it's not ironic that everybody kind of had to clear house. I think Freddie didn't really have a choice to get rid of most of these people. I don't think he can keep Greg Williams. There's no way he can keep Amos. I mean, he's gone. And some of these other guys, too, just had to get out of there, not because they're not good coaches, because they were hired by Hugh. And I do agree with that. I think it's time to turn this page and really stamp out the fire. Greg is a good guy. Greg has a lot of Cleveland in him, so it's hard to let a guy go like that.
Yep.
But I saw enough of Greg in those moments and spots where it was shaky. In the run defense, I mean, I don't know how you feel still. I think it's undefensible.
That's exactly what I think is the most disappointing part of that team last year, in my opinion, was the run defense.
Yeah.
And I really think it comes down to, in my mind, it felt like it hinged on linebacker play in regard to whenever they were able to get stops.
Yeah, I think linebacker play. I know I love it, Larry Ogunjobi. I think he's good. Mm-hmm. He needs some help in the interior line. And again, Garrett needs a defensive buddy. Ogba, to me, is another guy I'm going to start putting on notice. You need someone more to help rush the quarterback. You need someone else to help tag team in. You also need to, down the road, get Garrett out a little bit. Not a lot. But you need to get Garrett out a little bit to save his legs for his longevity of his career. He played a lot of snaps last year, Jared. A lot. And they couldn't take him out of the game, as they knew if they took him out, they didn't have a pass rush. So the Browns are going to have to focus on that. I'm sure they are. I mean, look, they have to. I would think to acknowledge that. Again, the secondary was so porous. I know that was a big focus. And by the way, the secondary was a lot better than last year. So they fixed that. It's hard to fix all the holes in one offseason. So the secondary's come a long way. I think the pass rush was better this year, but wasn't where it should be. I agree with you about the linebacker thing. Schobert was good for the first games, and then when he got hurt, he stunk.
Yeah,
if I'm being
coming
honest
back from
with
his
you.
injury, he struggled.
He struggled a lot. He really did. Jamie Collins, I know a lot of people like to get on him. I don't pile on him as much as other people do, but it's certainly – I know. He certainly took plays off. I think there's worse catalysts out there. I know people don't want to hear it. Peppers, except for one game, really wasn't that great. Really, really wasn't that great. He was great during the Bronco game.
Be returning punts or kicks.
No. we can push that aside. So that goes into
they figured that out too. They put Callaway in at the end of the season. So
no, agreed. So I think that's the reason for Greg Williams. I think the one thing, though, I mean, to wrap up the Freddie thing, then I want to go to this analytics thing. Yeah. I think Freddie was the right hire. I thought with everything that went down, it sounds like McCarthy was very strange. Something happened there. We're never going to know what it is. Was it McCarthy that got cold feet? Was it the Browns? Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. For what it's worth, what I thought was eye-catching is the Jets didn't hire him either. So obviously McCarthy had some things not going for him in this offseason. So McCarthy put aside. If you gave me all those other names again, I'll be truthful with you, Jared. It's hard not to hire Kitchens, right? I just think it's hard not to hire him when you look at that list.
Right, and it all comes down to, at the end of the day, did you want him to succeed one more year as
Right.
offensive coordinator and then lose out on him in the future? And the Browns chose not to do that. They want to lock him in and just give him the reins right now. The way that they've restructured how he's going to report directly to John Dorsey. Another good sign of what I feel is I've given a lot of heat to the Haslams throughout this process. I like how they did it. Besides the fact that there were too many cooks in the kitchen. Sorry, that was not an intended pun, by the way, either. The fact that they had 6 guys, as a part of this coaching search. I think that that the Haslams are starting to get it.
I'll caution. I'm going to be the other guy for a second. I thought this hiring process was goofy. It worked out, but it was goofy. This analytics thing has not gone away. I think we need to start paying attention to this next year if the Browns struggle. The analytics side has a drumbeat still.
So this is what you wanted to go into next anyways, is the analytics, correct?
This is not dead. Now, it has been tempered, and Dorsey has the reins, and Dorsey is the hot guy right now. But I will caution everyone, analytics is still alive because they almost took Stefanski. It's pretty clear it's close. And so putting away Stefanski aside, whether it worked or didn't work, we'll never know. And we can't do those I don't want to do that kind of show. But I'm telling you, what I found interesting is analytics is alive. I thought that whole thing was stamped out. I thought DePodesta was really in the backseat. Jared, I thought this was a chaotic coaching search. It worked out. I did not think it was smooth. I still think the Browns need to work this stuff out a little bit.
Yes, but the evidence is trending in the direction of they are working it out, judging by the decisions that they came to at the end of the day. Again, right, but caution. Better win some games, not just for Freddie Kitchens, but this got weird on Monday, and there's a split in the building still. And right now, it's very tempered. I will warn, if the Browns don't come off hot next year, if they lose some games, watch it. If the analytics that drum beat starts beating up again. It's clear to me through all this that the DePodesta and Dorsey, they're working, but not really working in harmony. From what I'm seeing here. Well, you're right, though. The winning is going to be key.
It's huge.
And if they win...
For more than what I thought it was going to be. And again, I don't want to go too far, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. I don't want to pull cold water, but I'm telling you, when I was texting you on Monday and I heard that report about McCarthy, and then I shortly found out, well, they're bringing back Stefanski for a second interview. The Andrew Berry DePodesta weight is still in that building, and it's being felt.
Why
Dorsey,
is that, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, what I'm taking into that note is they're still getting some earpull from Haslams, whether we like it or not. Now, the great news is Dorsey by far has the gavel, and by far is the leader. Thank God. By the way, he's lucky that Baker got along with Freddie.
That was huge. That was serendipitous.
Yes, that wasn't accidental. So I don't want to go far too down this road, but I did not think that went smoothly, if I'm being honest. I thought that was a very herky-jerky hiring process again. Weirdly enough, it worked out, and everything's great. So I'm not going to say it didn't work out. I'm just saying we should make this a note for next September or October if something gets hairy wrong with losses. Just remember this.
Well,
right?
it all landed in our lap today, as herky jerky as the process went along. It landed just as strangely today with the Browns vomiting like 8 different stories off of ClevelandBrowns.com.
It makes me wonder if the
all at once.
Yeah, it makes me kind of wonder if the Haslams were tied up with the crew. And I think that's the only thing I'll give them a pass on. The crew thing was happening on Thursday, and that's a lot. That's not people made light of that. Like, oh, they'll be back on Friday making a signing. Like, that crew thing was a big deal on Thursday.
Yeah, and anyone who doesn't know, the Haslams purchased the Columbus Crew. I don't know anything about the Columbus Crew, so I'll just leave it at that.
Well, they saved the crew from basically being maybe transported.
You know what? I did know that.
Yeah. So it's a big deal. My brother's a big crew fan. I know there's a lot of crew fans out there. Maybe there's a couple that listen. That was a big deal, and that was a great move by Haslam. It was a good sign of faith in the state of Ohio, so that was a good thing. Yeah. So I think that now the next thing is the Freddie Kitchens staff. Here's what we know. A lot of rumors about Steve Wilks. I think at this point, unless something very strange happens, Steve Wilks is your defensive coordinator. That is a great hire. That is a guy who's going to be motivated to win after what happened to him in Arizona last year. Obviously, we didn't see Steve Wilks a whole lot. I don't really know a lot about him, but I think that's a great hire just on spec because of a guy who really got an ousted in Arizona is going to be out to prove things. I like the hire that from the Vikings special teams coach. They had decent special teams last year. I thought that was a good hire. The Vikings wanted to bring him back, but the Browns got him. That's a good sign. So you can tell Freddie's getting little nuggets here and there. I like that they kept Adam Henry. I didn't know much about Dwayne Walker. He was a Brown staffer for defensive backs, but I didn't know much about him. So for me to pontificate on him, I'm not going to do that. Ryan Lindley seems to be the name we should all be watching now. Lindley, I think, is going to be groomed as either the quarterback or offensive coordinator. There seems to be more and more rumors, Jared, from what I'm reading, that he is going to bring in an offensive coordinator. I think either way here, though, Lindley or if it's someone else, I think they're in good shape. Everybody else is gone. We kind of touched on Greg Williams. I'm sure everybody saw his note going on the way out. Greg is a class act. He really handled everything correctly and really did a nice job there. I know there's some people bummed out about Bob Wiley. We all kind of are. He's a great character on and off the field. He did a nice job with the offensive line. I'm not going to say it's a super shocker, but again, I think it's the Hugh Jackson thing. I think they're just trying to peel back as much as possible. And again, I mean, unless someone's really wants to really get into an argument, Amos had to go special teams coordinator. He had to go. That was a given. Special teams, this guy Prefer, I believe how you pronounce his name, from the Vikings, he has got a job on his hands, as we've alluded to many times.
You could argue that this team would have been in the playoffs if it weren't for special teams.
I would argue that.
You could argue that.
I would argue that. I would argue also as well, they had a little bit better run defense in certain spots, especially in the Raiders game where, what was that guy's name? Oh, who just torched us? Lynch torched us in that game. Torched us. Looked like he was like a rookie, second year or third year back running around with fresh legs. I thought that was the other game. The Raiders game, the Steelers tie. The Raiders game and the Steelers tie are going to really bother me. I think the Saints game, they missed some field goals, obviously. You can never count out the Saints at home, so I don't know about that one. But the Raiders road game and the Steelers home game are bad non-wins. So you can't say that. Obviously, the other one's a loss if they tied. But yeah, special teams, Jared, really caused too many headaches and errors. And by the way, as it did in the final game again, as Joseph missed another extra point.
Took a lot of focus off of the positives that were coming out of that offense on a regular basis.
Agreed. So we talked about Jones, Wiley, and Greg Williams gone. We talked about the new hires. My early thoughts on the staff, I mean, it's pretty simple so far. I like Wilks. I like that they got a new special teams coordinator. I'm not as focused on the OC as probably others are. I think if it's Lindley, that's fine. I think Kitchens is going to be calling plays. On that thought, it's the Captain Obvious road. I want to hear what you think. My feeling is I think Kitchens should call plays. That's part of the reason why you hired him. What he's going to have to really do, and what I'd be interested to see is his head coaching duties, though, get a lot more razor thin with decision making if you're going to be focusing on offense. So he's going to have a lot on his plate early on as a new head coach.
Right.
As everybody alludes to, it's a lot different when you're the head coach because you do need to pay attention to special teams. You do need to pay attention to defense. You don't need to be scheming it, but you have to be paying attention to it. Because coaches that don't, they usually lose and it usually falls apart. And you have to pay attention to the little things, when to call timeouts, when to use the replay flag, all those things that we sound and make trivial. When you're in a game and you're dealing with injuries and a whole bunch of hustle and bustle, it's going to be important, Jared. I do like the idea of him coaching plays. I just hope he has some, maybe it's Wilks, maybe it's someone else helping him on the sidelines becoming a new head coach. He's going to need it.
Right. What he doesn't need to do is micromanage, and
Right.
he doesn't seem the type of person that will. He does need to keep his hands on. So the two words that come to mind when I think of all this is he needs to be empowering, yet hold people accountable. Those
Yep.
those are the two those are the keys to his leadership, I think, and success is empower your guys, whether it be players or coaches, but have the accountability, at the ready.
Yes.
Hold them accountable, make them. I could tell you what, we're not going to see players even. Let's jump into this one. The man simply was asking, if everyone remembers the Hard Knocks clip that seems to be floating around a lot and getting a lot of attention now, the old driving the bus, sitting in my chair conversation, that began with Freddie Kitchens, and all he was asking for was to have guys who were injured or weren't going to practice that day at least show up and wear the damn uniform.
Yeah.
That in a nutshell is that's something that statement in itself has gotten him to where he is now as the head coach, in a sense.
Agreed.
You don't have to play. I want you to get better. We don't want you to get hurt, but you're a part of this team, and you're going to show up, and you're going to wear the uniform, period. And that's...
He really, I didn't mean to cut you off, he really embraces Cleveland.
Yes.
He really does.
That's huge. He fits right in with that accent and everything. I don't care. He fits right in.
I think there's several cities, and you can list them off. Boston, New York, Cleveland, I think Chicago for certain sports. I think you have to fit in with the culture. I think actually it's important if you're the Dallas Cowboys head coach to embrace that emblem and who that is. I think it's important for the Steelers too. If you're going to be a Steeler coach, the Steeler family way. In Cleveland, you have to have a personality of understanding how important it is in this town. And we love the Cavs. We love the Indians. We're all being truthful, though, because of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and other things in the state. Football drives this city more than these other two teams. And the lifeblood's there. And you got to understand that we're going to be hard on you. We're going to be in your face, but we're going to be passionate fans. And we're not dumb. We're not like other fan bases that won't be picking up on things. And he seems to get it so far. And I think his Bama, that is another thing, too. I like that he came from a school like Alabama, who comes from a lot of pressure, who understands that you have to win. There's no such thing as good losses. And he didn't just play for Alabama. He was the starting quarterback for Alabama. So he has a lot of that understanding of what's coming into this, and definitely got a blue-collar feel, and I just think he gets it. I even think the simple gestures of wearing a dog pound sweatshirt, Jared, go a long way. I really do. I think it goes a long way.
That was one of the first things a buddy of mine tweeted out was never take off that hoodie. That's...
Probably sleeps with it. Probably once at this point, like of how much he wears it and all that. I think just to wrap up the Browns, I don't have too much more on this stuff. We kind of hit it over the barrel. I think the key points are here. After looking at everything that happened, Freddie was the guy. I don't think it's hard to justify that. Something happened with McCarthy. I don't think anybody will ever understand what happened there. And again, the Jets didn't hire him either, so maybe it's more of a McCarthy thing. I will be buyer about the Alex thing. And I think Freddie, and I think the final thing is, for people who don't know how to leave towns and whatever, look at what Greg Williams did on the way out of town. I think that's the way you leave places, no matter how it goes. Greg did not have a graceful exit. It was not his fault, by the way, either. He was just the defensive coordinator and interim coach. But he left on the highest of notes, and I applaud him for that. He gets it.
Absolutely. I've got nothing but love. I know that we dug on his defense a little bit here, but at the same time,
certainly so. Fair enough.
But at the same time, what he did here was definitely appreciated, and the fans showed that appreciation with their support up until the very end, and that they filled that stadium at the end of the season. This is a new era for the Browns, and we can thank Greg Williams for helping get us to that next page that we've been. It's been the longest page in history I've been ready to turn in my mind. I've been waiting to turn this page.
We're ready to turn.
Thank you for helping turn it.
Yes.
Another quick note, though, I'm seeing the Browns put out. There's a lot of big names that are coming out in support of this Freddie Kitchens move. Dabo Sweeney says he's known Freddie for a long time and thinks he's going to hit the ground and run with it, and has no doubt about that. So getting the love from Dabo, another successful coach in his own right. So I like that kind of love, to be honest. I like reading those quotes. I'm grinning about it right now.
No, I think Dabo Swinney giving love after what Dabo just did is they can't get any higher praise right now from from any kind of coach like that. Going on the next thing up for the Browns, free agency's next, then the draft. Truthfully, if I were the Browns, and I think they will follow this model now, I think it's time to kind of bunker down and let the playoffs play and kind of take the backlight stage here. It's not the time to be coming out in news stories or anything like that till after the Super Bowl. So if you're the Browns, you do your hubbub this week, you pump up Kitchens, you do a big presser, I would think on Monday, maybe you do a big presser day, I would doubt it. Either way, you do your big presser, you do your big rollout. I think after that, Jared, I think the Browns need to kind of go into bunker. There's never any good news in between now and the Super Bowl if you're one of these teams that are not in it. So just stay out of the spotlight. The next big thing is free agency, then the draft. And, those would be the big things. When we do our big podcast announcement, we'll go through the Browns and talk about players, this and that, about who we like, who we think needs to be improved. But I think that's kind of where the Browns are, too, after this week. Truthfully.
I would like for it to quiet down, although Although, what else are we going to talk about if it quiets down? I will say this: I think they're going to make it. It's going to be they're going to make a little more noise than the Indians did in the offseason. Hopefully, when it comes to making the free agent moves.
Yes. Before we get to the beloved tribe around the NFL, for people who did not see, I think we should announce it on here. Hugh Jackson will not be back with the Cincinnati Bengals. It was officially announced. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I don't remember which day. But he's not going to be back. They are one of the last two teams left along with Miami. Cincy, it's down to Zach Taylor and Darrell Bevell. Bevell sounds like he's the leader. He's the guy from the Seattle offensive coordinator spot. Zach Taylor is one of those young disciples from Sean McVay. It'll be interesting to see what Cincinnati goes with at this point. But Hugh Jackson's gone, which I think actually in a way, Jared, even though we don't like him as a coach, I think it's good. Time for him to get – I think he's going to have a hard time getting a job in the league. So I think you're not going to have the Hugh Jackson Mayfield thing next year, which I like.
I don't know who would even look into that. There was the rumor early on that he was getting sniffs from the Vikings.
Yeah.
That went out with a fizzle. Nothing ever happened. The rumors that he was going to get taken on as the next head coach for Cincinnati. Clearly, they've shut that all down just by releasing him. Fired from 2 AFC North teams in 3 months. He's going to have struggles finding anyone who wants to bring him on. I think at this point.
Yeah, if I were him, I would look at the old world of college football and see if he can get somewhere there. Which always could use coaches like Hugh Jackson and.
Hey, the XFL's coming back.
Well, AAFL, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's a football league, so right. All that to be said, and then the Miami Dolphins sounds like they're going to hire Brian Flores unless something strange goes wrong there. We just talked about Freddie Kitchens and how nicely that landed. I'll give you 2 examples of where we saw the opposite. Won't go through every coaching hire, but the Kingsbury hire is the biggest head scratcher. When you get fired from Texas Tech, usually your next step is you don't go to the NFL and become a head coach. Kingsbury proves everything wrong, that dogs like cats, cats like dogs. Oil and vinegar do mix. Oil and water do mix. Oil and vinegar does mix, by the way. It's wonderful. But oil and water don't mix. But for what it's worth, this is such a T-ball hitting out of the park home run comment. That Kingsbury hire stinks. It has no vibe. It has no jazz. I am shocked. It has got to be miserable being a Cardinals fan. That is one of the Jared is one of the strangest hires I can ever remember in the NFL.
Yeah, Arizona's going to struggle. And fans were yearning for that team to turn it back around because they've had good teams and I don't know. Isn't it amazing? There's a lot of, as a Browns fan, knowing what we know from our past, when you see those things kind of popping up in other towns, you feel bad for the fan bases. Unless it's Pittsburgh or Baltimore, you feel bad when teams make old Browns type moves. This is one of them.
I think this is beyond old Browns. I mean, I really do. This is strange. I mean, you're really reaching. Then the other one, because I live in this area of the country, boy, I guess Gase was not the selection Jets fans wanted. They went on a tirade when Adam Gase was announced as the head coach for the Jets. You want to talk about not a popular hire. Boy, And again, McCarthy, that sounds
that's why they wanted McCarthy. Probably they thought it was in the bag. It comes down to something. What I've heard is that the way that McCarthy is looking at his next job has to do with the way that that the teams are structured and kind of the power that he's going to have when he goes into that next facility. And that seems to have been possibly a problem with why he hasn't found his fit yet.
Boy, I'd be careful. And as for the Jets, if I'm McCarthy, I'd be careful. He's already sitting a year out. That gets dangerous when you're a head coach. You don't want to sit 2 or 3 years out. So we'll see what happens with McCarthy. As for the Jets, I don't think it's as terrible as what everybody makes it out to be. But, boy, it certainly was not a popular hire with Adam Gase going there. So, again, for people who want comparisons, look at how those 2 jobs landed and look how your job landed. And those are 2 young quarterbacks in Rosen and in Darnold. And in this case, it landed by far the cleanest. So, just things to compare upon. I thought the other hires were shrug your shoulders. Who knows if it works? Who knows if it doesn't? Really a non-splash year for coaches. That's my last comment as coaching carousel. So far, non-splashes. Nothing that really celebratory fireworks, big news, a shake-up, they like to say. All these kind of moves, whether it's Arians to Tampa Bay, the coordinator going from the Bears to Denver, they're all kind of hires that you're like, I mean, they're not bad. I'm not going to say they're bad, but splashy is not the term I'd be going for. The NFL games kick up at 4:30. It is a snow globe in Kansas City today. The Chiefs and the Colts. I haven't done my picks live in a while, but I've been giving the Jared secretly through texting. I went 2-2 last week. I went 3-0 in week 17, by the way. So for people who were curious out there, which I'm sure everybody is. But quickly on these games, this one to me is the one that holds the most weight for pressure. The Chiefs have not won a playoff game since '94 at home. That's a long time. A long time. This is a big, big game for the Chiefs. I don't think it helps that it's snowing the way it is before this game.
No.
The Colts are really hot. The 5-point favorite here is for the Chiefs. If the Chiefs were more rolling smoothly the last few weeks without this Hunt stuff that happened off the field, I'd be feeling better about the Chiefs even than the snow. I'm telling you, Jared, now that I know the weather out in Kansas City, I think the Colts win this outright. I think you take the Colts. They're going to get 5 points too. I would take both here. I think the Colts win this game. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Absolutely. I can't believe. I think that's more of a 2.5-point spread, if anything. Yeah. This feels like a pick 'em. I don't know how much the home field is going to help. Well, yeah, how much is that home field going to help, especially with the snow? The Colts are playing really good football.
Should be a thorn for the Browns in these playoffs. If the Browns make the playoffs next year, I'd be surprised the Colts aren't there with them. I like Frank Wright. I like where this defense is going. I like where this team's going. I think they're playing really good football. I've been impressed with them a lot the last few weeks, and Luck is not a bad quarterback. They're a tough team. I hope I'm wrong, as I would like to see the Chiefs win this game, but I just don't see it. Now that I know the weather.
I agree with you. I'm going Colts on this one.
Yeah, Colts both. Cowboys and Rams are the late game. That's a sexy game for most people who don't really follow the sport. I don't like this game as much as other people do, but it's the Cowboys. It's Los Angeles. It's a great game. Primetime highlights. Rams are 7-point favorite. They've kind of fallen off ever since they lost the Eagles. Had a really, again, kind of like the Chiefs, they've had a strange end of the year. The Cowboys have been hot. They won a lot. They beat the Saints at home. They won a lot of big games, it feels like, lately. They don't pass the ball well. Their best player by far is Ezekiel Elliott. That makes you nervous in these kind of games. They're a 7-point underdog. I would take the Rams in this spot. I think the Rams cover. I think the Rams win. Prescott, if he was playing better, I would love the Cowboys in the spot. I just don't like. I think Prescott in these games, Jared, with a fast team. The Rams had this game last year. They have a lot. The Rams, like the Chiefs, have a lot to prove this year. The Rams don't have as much pressure as the Chiefs do, but the Rams lose, they will. I mean, the Rams need this game.
I don't have a beat on this one at all.
Tough game tough game to pick. Prescott really pushes me into the Rams' favor. If Prescott was playing, he's doing great with his legs, but he makes turnovers. He has a tendency to fumble. I just don't think he's going to be good in this kind of game. I think the Rams are really going to press hard and play fast on the grass. I just see the Rams win this game. If Prescott, again, it wouldn't surprise me, by the way, 21-10. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think the Rams are going to.
I think not high scoring might even favor the Cowboys, though.
No, I agree with you. I just don't see Prescott. Here's the thing, Jared. I've watched Prescott enough this year. Here it is. It's 13-10, 14-10, big spot, fourth quarter. Prescott can't make those throws. In my opinion, I just don't think he can.
You're right.
I not only will he not make those throws, I can see it being a turnover or a pick six or a fumble. So I'd say I'm going to take the Rams -7 today. I think that spread's right on.
I think if the Rams can hold Zeke in check, that is. I really think that might be Dallas's only hope.
Yep. If he goes wild, it's downhill. Pats are playing the Chargers tomorrow at 1:00. The weather up in New England, it's going to be really cold. It's going to be in the 20s. Outside of that, there's really not much of a weather factor like there is in Kansas City. It's going to be dry, cold. The Chargers come off, which we kind of alluded to, a so-so win against the Ravens. It was more of a Ravens loss, in my opinion. I'm not going to break this game down a lot. I just am not in love with the Chargers, and people listen to me all year. I'm just not a big fan of this team.
I don't know how anyone could pick the Chargers in this game.
I agree with you.
Not a chance in hell they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think it's all day. Pat's coming off a bye. I'm just not wowed by the Chargers. The Chargers always lose these games, and I think they lose again. I just think they lose again. The Eagles played Saints. They're the last game. This is a chance to be the great game of the weekend, in my opinion. The 4:40 spot on Fox. Saints are 8-point favorites, though, which I think you have to because of how they scored home. Here's the thing about this game. It's all about momentum. It's all about charm. It's all about glitz at times in sports. I mean, you can't measure what the Eagles are doing, right? They started winning in L.A. with Foles, and it really hasn't stopped. They've had great wins against the Texans. They had a great win in Chicago, even though it was a double doink coming off of Parkey's foot. Okay, you can't measure these kind of intangibles, but the Eagles just have this tinge to it. The Saints kind of fall in line with the Rams and Chiefs. Didn't really have a great end of the year. Their best win was against the Steelers, which I don't know how much you can measure that win. They just have not ended the year well. I take the Eagles, even though they're in the dome, 8-point underdogs. Again, I don't know. I'm not going to measure it. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I like these things. And it's just all on. I think the Eagles have this mojo. And I think that mojo continues. And I don't like how the Saints ended the year. I just don't. I could see the Saints losing this game. And that would be crazy. Can you imagine the Eagles go back to Super Bowl? But I think this game will determine the Super Bowl. I don't see the Cowboys and Rams going, so I think the winner of Eagles Saints goes. So I think this is the game that determines who's going to represent the NFC.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't, man.
Tough game.
So both of these teams can lose horribly. I mean, I feel like this is a who's going to blow it game. You know, this is a who's going to throw away the opportunities. This is who's not going to take advantage of whatever opportunities they get. This is going to be the team that loses this game will have blown it, in my opinion. Because there's no reason that, well, with the way that the Eagles have gotten there, that was a surprise in itself.
Again,
but we've seen the Saints lose games like this at home in big spots. Like, this is.
I know if the Saints had played better throughout, like they didn't lose to Dallas the way they did. I mean, even in their wins, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, I mean, they just barely made it over the finish line. I just think the Saints haven't played well in a few weeks, and that's not good. At a certain point, you got to figure that's going to play a role. That's why I take the Eagles, and I think the Eagles might win this outright. I think either way the Eagles cover. I think 8 points is a great spread. I think the Eagles cover. I think the Eagles cover either way.
Oh, I would definitely take those points. I'd take the points there, and I would also take the Pats because that's a 4-point spread. I think that's way small.
I do too.
I think that should be more of an 8-point spread.
You can tell Vegas likes the Chargers. I'm with you on that. And so they go through them real quickly. Then move on to the Indians. Kansas City, I would take the Colts. In the 5 points. It's snowing. By the way, people are betting. It is snowing like crazy in Kansas City today. Rams, I think you take the Rams because of Prescott. We just talked about the Pats. You take the Pats. And I think you take the Eagles plus the 8 points.
Cleveland Indians.
We move on to the Indians. The big signing was Lindor. He was always coming back. They agreed to $10.5 million. If you want to get into budgetary numbers, we'll do that offline. I'm not going to get into why that makes sense, why it doesn't. It's 10.5. Take it for what it's worth. What has been happening the last 24, 48 hours, especially last night, is the Kluber and Bauer trade. I've been seeing a lot of this last night and more of this morning. There's a lot of rumors going again with the Kluber going to the Padres. Depending on who you read, it sounds like that's the leader to getting that deal done. And then there's this DodgersWay.com. They said there's been significant talks, not with Kluber, but with Bauer going to the Dodgers this week. And that they've had a lot of talks about Bauer being traded to L.A. So it definitely sounds like the Indians are in talks with teams about Kluber and Bauer again.
I think you have to get rid of Bauer at this point. I am fully on the trade Bauer train. I'm sick of the antics. I think that he is a toxic type of person to be around. He's a bad influence on Clevenger, in my opinion. I don't like Mr. Sunshine and having his aura ruined by being around Bauer as much as I think that they hang out or whatever. They're buddies. Bauer's gotten himself in enough trouble on social media lately and going after a 17-year-old girl. Stay off of social media, Trevor. It's done you no benefits. It's done you no good over the past few years, and it's really shown. I said this to you yesterday, Andy. Believe someone when they show you who they are. Bauer has made a habit of showing us all who he is at the end of the day, whether it be screwing off and lose, causing us to lose the World Series, in my opinion. We could talk about off the field, on the field, whatever it is. Bauer has done nothing to make me say we got to keep that guy. We can live without him.
I think Bauer is really coming to a point where social media is going to be a part of who he is, and you have to accept that or not. I don't think you can go through, hey, you can't do. I don't think Bauer can help it. I think Bauer loves and eats up social media, to what you allude to. I think he had some very strange moments this week on Twitter. He actually had to apologize, as it sounds like people were starting to pile on, either the young lady or other people who he calls trolling, attacking people on Twitter. I would just say to Trevor, for healthy energy and for everything else, I would stay way away from that stuff. I think he needs to. I think Trevor Bauer needs the season to start because I think Trevor's really getting way too bored on social media. When it comes to trading for Kluber, when it comes to trading for Bauer, I'm actually at this point, which I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think you need the best package there is. I have not been in love with what I've been reading about what the Padres are offering. I think you got to really look at the Dodgers only because I think the Dodgers can give you a significant bat. And I think that's something that the Indians really, really could use. So
yes.
I don't think it's ironic, by the way, Jared. This week, for people who haven't been paying attention, this is the big week where the Phillies have been entertaining all the free agents, and they're why is that guy slipping past my mind? The guy who's the biggest free agent this year in the outfielder for the Nationals.
Wait,
what's the guy's name?
What are we talking about?
The Nationals outfielder who's a big free agent this year. So Harper, I can't believe I blanked on his name. So Harper's meeting with the Phillies today. It sounds like they're trying to broker a deal. Typically in Major League Baseball, once that happens, the floodgates open for other free agencies, things, and for other trades. Yeah. I don't think it's ironic that you're starting to see some people start to sign. By the way, the Yankees have not made any big splashes so far.
No,
the only other thing
Boston's made moves though, correct? I mean, we're seeing the Red Sox get better.
Nothing splashy though. The only thing I would tell the Indians fans, and we'll get into this more this week, Jared, watch the White Sox for Manny Machado. I think that is a very serious thing. I think Machado has a very good chance of playing for the South Side. I think that has real legs. I really do.
Game changer, possibly a game changer. I mean, Machado didn't come off the best season, correct? I mean,
I think he needs to be aware. That's Baltimore 2.0, in my opinion. I know people have been really high on the White Sox for these people that they keep bringing up. We watch the White Sox 19 times a year. Outside of Abreu, I haven't seen much from the White Sox. I've seen more from the Royals. I've seen more from the Twins. I don't see a lot from the White Sox. I haven't seen a lot from the Tigers either, to be truthful. So I think you're right. I think you might be going to a desert situation. With that said, it's Manny Machado. Maybe some things get sparked. I don't think he's that kind of player. But again, I think Machado going to the South Side, I think that's in play. I think that's a real possibility. I really do.
where are you at as a fan right now when it comes to the Indians? For me, I've been trending downward in my opinion of what we're going to look at on field this coming season. I've really been let down, but I've had to remind myself that Andy, they've been doing it this way and getting and making significant, whether it be playoff runs or getting or winning the division. They've been doing it this way for years now. So maybe I should pump the brakes on being an Indians pessimist.
Here's
that's
what
the only thing that's making me feel better is that this is par for the course.
It is par for the course. We'll have to do more on this next week. I talked to a Tribe analyst who's on television all the time. I talked to him during the national championship game. He made me feel better about Yan Gomes not being here. So I was going to say, I've calmed down a little bit about that. I'm still not thrilled with that move. I don't think it's the right decision, but okay. I feel a little better about that. I do get the vibe, though, that kind of what he was alluding to is kind of what we're feeling. That's why I think this Trevor Bauer, Corey Kluber thing is not strange as being brought back up. I think the Indians know they have significant holes to fill. And I think they need to really. The other thing, too, again, this is too much down the rabbit hole of baseball. You got Cody Anderson coming back from injury. He was pitching pretty well before his Tommy John. He wasn't pitching an ace or a second or a third, but he could be a good 5. He could be a low 4. Those are kind of things, Jared, when you start thinking about that kind of stuff and you have all these holes in your lineup, you may want to really start looking again on Kluber and Bauer talks. I think this is going to get heated up, especially after the Harper thing this weekend with the Phillies. I think everybody should watch out for that. I think the other thing to watch out for is Machado going to the Chi Sox. I think that's really unless the Phillies are really opening up the checkbook, that's the other solution. The Yankees seem to be out of the Machado running right now, but the Yankees have a tendency to do that, and they overpay, so maybe they do here.
Right.
But it sounds like it's the Phillies or bust for Machado or the South Side. So you got to keep that in mind. There's nothing more in sports when you kind of go through the NBA Finals and you're loving life and everything's great and glorious. And
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Boy, then you get this year from the Cavs, which we've been alluding to all year, and now we are in the midst of
unwatchable, Andy.
Yeah, it's box score watching. I'm not even watching the Cavs right now. We are now on box score watching. They've lost 12 in a row. They are on a West Coast swing, so there's no hope in sight.
No.
They are on pace to set defensive basketball back years. I did not realize how bad I knew the defense was bad. We alluded to it after game 1. Their defense is so bad, Jared, that
teams are putting up 140.
140. They're
in regulation.
They're obviously the Cavs are last in defense deficiency, but they are so far. Brian Windhurst teed it up, so I'm going to give credit to him because he alluded to it on a really big show this week, and I listened to it and I checked it out myself. They are so far back in the last place for defense efficiency. The Knicks are 29th, but there's a significant gap. Like a 3 or 4 point gap in between those two teams. The Cavs are in big. We knew it was bad. The defense is glaring. I could go on and on about things. It's tough picking positives right now. I know everybody's piling up on Sexton. I think some of it's fair. I think some of it's unfair. I am going to peel back my pride and watch some games this week and try to get a better reference point. I will just say it is box score watching for the Cavs. It is now officially box score watching. When you lose 12 in a row, when you're losing by the deficit they haven't won a game since they beat the Pacers on the road. It's been a long time now. I mean, it's getting that point. They play the Lakers this Sunday. I will watch for a little bit. No LeBron. LeBron's still out with an injury. That's a 9:30 NBA TV start. But Jared, it's getting bad. It is getting really, really, really bad.
It's bad. Yeah, it's not and it's proof this is going to be years of fixing. In my opinion, it's going to take the Cavs a good 3 to 5 to get to where to get to respectable basketball again.
Honestly, Jared, and I don't care what people think, they need Kevin Love to start playing again now. They need help. This team is really deficiency in talent right now. I've seen nothing from Burks that wows me. I like Clarkson. I like Tristan Thompson. I like Colin Sexton. I don't have much more after that. I like a couple parts here and there. I'm not a Chetty Osman guy, as people know. I'm still not. I've not changed my mind on that. I don't see a whole lot else. I just don't. Not seeing a whole lot else, if I'm being honest. I like those three parts. I'll act Kevin once he starts playing.
I'm canceling my. You reminded me though. I do need to go back in and cancel my league pass. Because I've been paying for it and not watching it. Don't tell my wife.
Well,
I can't deal with. I can't deal with it, Andy.
Box score watching.
It's not watchable. Yeah,
box score watching.
You'll check in they'll put up 30 plus in the first quarter and then they're gone. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Again,
That's
it's again box score watching. You check the box score, you check your phone, then you put it away. We'll do more in the Cavs as the Browns start really wrapping up the year. Real quick to wrap up the show today. I thought Clemson could win. I was really turned on by what they did to the Irish. Never expected what happened on Monday. Everybody alluded to the same points. I won't bring them up. Dabo Swinney, I think, is the bigger story here. Dabo has really taken a jump up.
Yep.
It's now Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban, everybody else. If people don't think that, you're crazy. Dabo Swinney is going to be a big name in college football. He already was, but now he's stamped it with that win. That is a defining win for your status, for your legacy, for everything when you win that kind of game the way they did. They whipped Alabama in big spots. Alabama drove the ball but couldn't make big plays. Fake field goals because their field goal.
The fake field goal was awful.
Oh, awful. By the way, when your kicker can't kick, that's what happens. And he missed an early extra point, and it bothered Saban, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't have run a fake.
I don't know why bother the fake. You saw the defensive scheme on that too. They were set up for the fake.
I know.
They knew it was coming. What are you doing?
Again, that goes back to special teams.
Run a play.
I agree. Special teams really played a role in this for that Alabama loss. But again, kudos to Clemson. All right, now that I did that, I can do my Notre Dame wrap up with more of a definition. By the way, the Irish only lost by 27 points. So I just want to point that out to people. They played 1 point better than Alabama did. Here's the thing about the Irish, and I'll do this on a longer podcast in the spring. That loss, Jared, carries everything that happened in 2013 BCS championship game into next year again. It's like Seattle losing to the Patriots. It hasn't really been shooken off. The Irish, with that loss, still has not shooken off what happened. Iron Book's got to play better. By the way, Tua, I want to get this real quick too. Tua needs to play better in these big spots too. Tua played really great against Georgia in the championship game last year. He stunk against Georgia in the SEC championship game. And Jared, he stunk against Clemson. Stunk. Lawrence lapped him in the field in that game. Lapped him. Tua's got to play better in those spots. All right, back to the Irish. Iron Book's got to play better next year. And Brian Kelly has to start planning for one game, the Georgia game. I don't hear about any other game next year. They got to think about winning that game in Athens. That should be their whole season. How are we winning that game in Athens? That is, Jared, I think that's a huge game for Kelly. Huge game for Kelly. I'm already ready for that game. Let's tee it up. That is a huge game for that team. They need that game. Notre Dame really looked pathetic in that game. The first quarter is competitive. After that, Iron Book, he looked terrible. Clemson really took their foot off the gas last 5 or 6 minutes. I think they could have scored another touchdown or two.
Yeah.
Notre Dame has to really start wondering, hey, we don't have the depth as Clemson, fine, but you can't put up performances like that in those kind of spots, and they got to play better than that, Jared. And I don't think it's being too critical. Notre Dame's better than what they showed in that spot. Sorry. They don't want to hear about this. They don't have enough talent. Start playing better in big spots. That's what sports is about. Start winning. You're Notre Dame. Get back into it. And by the way, we're not Notre Dame. We haven't won since 88.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Very frustrating. I get it. I get it. And it's easy to be. I feel bad, Andy, because I know that the Notre Dame haters came out in full force as soon as the clock said 0 on that game. The Notre Dame hate is alive and well.
Well, by the way, they've earned it. They've earned it. All those banners, all those signs. It's going to live on that team. They have to. That Georgia game's the next one. And by the way, if you get blown out in Georgia, more signs, more hate, more gasoline in the fire, and then you get to go on to your nice Gator Bowl. And that's what you're looking at. It's that big for Notre Dame. Huge. Maybe it's not a Gator Bowl. Maybe it's a Liberty Bowl. I don't know. Big game.
I was turned off last week when I saw Urban walk courtside at the Ohio State Michigan State game with Haskins and Justin Fields with him. I was a little turned off by that because I just thought it felt kind of crappy for Tate Martell. But let me tell you this, Andy. The more that I look into Tate Martell, and the more I realize that he's flaked on a lot of on his original commits.
Yeah.
Like 3 different teams, correct? Before he eventually, where he would come out and say he was going to go to these places. Maybe the Buckeyes avoided a bullet with that kid by Fields transferring, because now Tate is on the out. Martell, who talked a tough game on social media prior, saying "come get some if you want this starting position" on Twitter, and then it turned around and now he's leaving. Like,
here's what I'll say. Man. Yeah, here's what I'll say about Ohio State. And we'll get into this more as Browns thins out. We'll do more on this too, like we would Notre Dame. It reminds me of a lot of the analytical battle going on in Berea. Urban Meyer walking out with Justin Fields and Haskins after his career ended was weird. It was very, very, very strange.
It was a strange look.
I look, at the end of the day, Justin Fields going to Ohio State's a big coup. He's a wonderful talent from what I've been told. I've never seen him play, but he was the number 1 quarterback coming out. He was a big deal. And for Ohio State to get him is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Again, it reminds me of analytics in Berea. Urban Meyer's right there. Right there. And he's making sure his presence is known. So I agree with you about that. The Tate Martell thing, I won't get too much into what you said, but you're right about him. I think it just needs to be mentioned that Fields is not only in, he's going to get the starting role, but Tate Martell's out. So the Justin Fields, Tate Martell, there is no battle. Martell moves on. Justin Fields comes in. And by the way, it wouldn't have been. Fields is very talented. Fields is going to get that spot. So that's a big win, I think, for Ohio State. I think to your point.
Yeah, Martell made, to be fair to him, he is making the right move. He just shouldn't have made the statement that he was going to, he was going to fight for that spot and then just tuck his tail. That's the bad luck in my opinion.
All right. Well, that I agree with.
He's got to go somewhere else though if he wants to play, and I get that. So.
Yeah, I'll wrap up with there's good college basketball on that no one's probably watching. From what I've been noticing right now this week, Kansas had a big injury with Azubuike. There's a couple things out there. There's a crazy game with UCLA. By the way, UCLA's now winning now that Alford's gone. There's a couple things out there. Duke's playing Florida State right now. That's a close game. North Carolina got dinged. The Big Ten's where it's at. I've heard that from a lot of people this year. I've been watching a lot of college basketball. Big Ten basketball's in. I'll do a little bit more as we get into that season, Jared. I know Ohio State had a tough week. Indiana lost to Maryland. Purdue had a great win in Wisconsin. They needed that win. The state of Michigan's really holding up in basketball right now. Michigan State's both in the top 7. So those are the 2 teams to watch. And it's good to see, just, one more thing, then I'll wrap it up to you. It's good to see in college basketball St. John's winning. St. John's had a good week. I know they lost to Nova. I like seeing teams like St. John's back into play. Georgetown's better this year. It's like in college football when these teams in the 90s, like Oklahoma was down and USC was down in the 90s, and they came back in 2000s. It's good to see St. John's and Georgetown back. It's good to see them winning. They're not going to win the national championship, but it's good to see them winning and probably making the tournament. It's good to see. It's good for college basketball.
I'm actually watching on and off, which is more than I have in the past couple of years. So
college basketball this year is very good. I watch a lot of it from year to year. This is one of the better years I can remember. It's really, really good. It's a strong year. There's no down. There's not like some years a lot of teams are down because of recruiting and whatnot. I don't feel that this year. It's a good field. And, I know teams we don't root for, but Michigan and Michigan State are both very, very good. They're going to be right there at the end.
I'm not going to make a habit of ending shows complaining about what national guys say about Cleveland, because we've gotten to the point where it's a weekly thing. But I am going to bring this up. Colin Cowherd cannot stop talking trash on the city of Cleveland, making absolutely no sense whatsoever, and then being called out about all that trash talk, and to say that, you think I'm doing this for clicks? If I was doing it for clicks, I would be talking about teams that mattered or that had big fan bases, which again shows the ignorance of Colin Cowherd. Cleveland, why do these people on the national level not understand that Browns fans are global? Browns fans are worldwide, and there's a lot of them. And stop the unsolicited, the unprovoked hate. It's the unprovoked comments that drive me nuts. Where is it coming from? And I don't get it.
I've heard a lot
for your own need for attention.
Right. Here's what I would say: don't pay attention to Colin. I don't watch any of it. He's doing it for stick at this point. I actually like Colin as a person, but I would tell him to his face, like, I think you're doing this for stick. I don't think you're being truthful. I think you're just driving up your clicks and whatever else, and I'll leave it at that. I don't know why he says half the things he's been saying about Cleveland this year. It's just trash. It just feels like garbage.
Because he needs to jump on the Cleveland bandwagon because he knows next year is going to be all about Cleveland.
Again, it's all about that. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's all shtick. I really do. I think it's all shtick. I've heard Dan Patrick say positive things about the Browns. I've seen other people nationally, so it's not as bad as what people might think. The only thing is, Colin Cowherd does have a big following. It gets a big cycle, and he really revs it up. He has a very Trumpian type of attitude at times where he's very polarizing in his comments, and he doesn't just throw it. He lights the thing on fire of what he doesn't like. Right now it's Mayfield, which Mayfield reacts to it. He doesn't like the Kitchens. Well, even what a surprise, he doesn't like the Kitchens hire. I mean, of course he didn't. He wouldn't have liked it if it was Mark McCarthy. He wouldn't have liked it for whatever. He's always had shitty things to say about Cleveland. He's going to say it again here. For what it's worth, he's not going to stop that stuff. And honestly, Jared, he shouldn't in a way for his clicks because it gets him a lot of clicks. I don't agree with him. I know you don't agree with him. I do know Collins. I worked with him in the past. He's actually a nice guy. But, boy, his comments are way off base. And, again, I think it's all shtick. And I would tell him that. I think it's all shtick. And I don't think any of it's – honestly, Jared, none of it's tangible. Like, it's not even stuff I'm going to argue. Like, I think it's wrong. Like, what he's saying, it's not even arguable. You're wrong.
You just have to shake your head at it. Like, what are you talking about?
You're in denial.
Where is this coming from, and what are you talking about? Go away.
Well, you know what? He better buckle up because Mayfield's going to win a lot of games next year. And Freddie's going to be there, too. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And he can sit there and complain and talk about the city of Cleveland. And by the way, that's his prerogative, but I'm certainly not going to listen to it. So I'm excited about Freddie Kitchens' hire. And for anybody who wants to give me an early Christmas gift, I would love to have that Dog Pound sweatshirt. I really want one of those Dog Pound sweatshirts. So
I got to look that up. Is that a Cleveland clothing company or is that?
I don't know. It looks like one of those. Well, it has to be branded Cleveland Browns because that's how the league rolls.
Oh, so they have to wear it. Yep.
Yeah, so it's going to be something branded. But good to see Freddie Kitchens. I think they landed in the right spot. We kind of went through everything else. Buyer beware by the analytics. We talked about the Indians. I would watch out. The Kluber trade talks and the Bauer trade talks have revved up this week. As Jared alluded to, if you really want some social media guidance on what to not do, I would look at Trevor Bauer's Twitter page. Again, I don't mind Trevor, but I think he had a really tough week on social media. And then the Cavs have lost 12 in a row. I think they're going to probably make it 13 or 14 teams around the West Coast. And there you go.
Yeah, and Trevor, by the way, if you're going to act that way on social media, it's not a good look to turn away from questions from the media after you act like that on social media. He's avoiding that too, and that's another childish bad look. But whatever. Hey, I'm in a great mood when it comes down to things at the end of the day in relation to Cleveland sports. I thank God the Browns are good, and I can survive this era with the Cavs. The Indians, I'm not going to say it's too late. They're going to still make a move or two, I think, and try to set themselves up for positive things coming into this 2019 season. I just worry that they're going to have trouble getting fans in the seats for at least the first half of the year.
I think initially, I think you're right.
But other than that, nothing to complain about when all is well in Cleveland Browns world. As strange as it is that they announced this about 3.5 hours ago, whatever. They made the right move, Andy. They made the right move.
They did. With what we know about McCarthy now, they definitely made the right move.
Yeah. Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond. Andy Billman, Jared Watson. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll come back and talk more Browns, talk more, hopefully, some Indians moves. You can talk Cavs if you want, Andy. I don't think I have anything to say about them anymore.
I'll pick up the
and we'll see how these playoff games go today. Take care.
Enjoy your weekend.
Hey, don't forget to follow Andy and Jared Cleveland and Beyond on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, and on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond. on Twitter. You can also shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing your comments.